We're soaring, aren't we? Soaring in sacred love this morning. I'm inviting us on an exploration of love, a love so profound, it can transform our entire lives. It's what I call sacred love, and it has the power to make us soar. Sacred love isn't a feeling that we have. It's a state of being that we cultivate. Your reading and your prayer this morning was so right on and perfect, as of course it was, right? It's the unconditional, non-judgmental presence of the divine that exists within us and all around us. When we connect with it, our lives are lifted to a higher plane. Love is an omnipresent force that flows through life. It flows through all of life. It's not limited to fleeting moments of passion or dramatic gestures. So speaking of dramatic gestures, I saw a funny meme the other day. The wife turns and looks to her husband and says, "Undress me with your words." And the husband turns and looks at her and says, "You have a spider in your bra." So no dramatic gestures with sacred love. In New Thought teachings, we understand that love expands when we engage in loving ourselves. When we engage in loving others. Thank you. Thank you, yes, I'm a hand person. It's okay. Tapping into the boundless stream of love that surrounds us. So Charles Fillmore said, if we would draw to us love, we must be love, be loving and kind. Rumi, from the Essential Rumi, states, the lover's food is the love of the soul, and its drink is the love of the sacred one. The human being is a house for the sacred soul. Sufi, in Sufism, states about love, in the religion of lovers, there is no good or bad, there is only sacred love. David Rico, on how to be an adult in relationships, says spiritual love is sacred. It is our way of relating to God. It is our way of relating to ourselves. It is our way of relating to others. It is our way of relating to the world. It is a way of being. So soaring in sacred love is a three-part journey that I am inviting you to go on with me this morning. It starts with untying our own wings of self-acceptance. It continues as we connect with others through compassion. And it culminates when we become that love to serve a greater purpose than ourselves. When we live from this place, we aren't just experiencing life, we are being lifted by it, carried on a current of grace and purpose. We are not just loving, we are soaring. Just like the two bald-headed eagles that we saw on the drive in here this morning from Squim. They were circling on our drive. They were beautiful. So we are soaring this morning like the bald eagles. Our journey of sacred love begins and it starts with untying our own wings of self-acceptance. The will to live and the will to love are intertwined. Donna Markova, in writing one of my favorite books titled I Will Not Die, An Unlived Life, recalls in that book a recent conversation she had with death while driving away from the cemetery after her mother died, and she explained to Death that she knew that she couldn't control how or when it came, but she definitely did not want to die with her heart imprisoned behind walls. Death whispered, "Do you want to die numb?" "No," she replied back. "I'd rather die soft and feeling pain than hard and brittle and numb. I want to die with my heart free, wide open, wondering and loving fiercely." The response was immediate. "Then how do you have to live so you can be sure to die that way?" So how do you have to live so that you can be sure to die that way? How do we walk through the door of denial to evoke and strengthen life and love and passion? Donna's mother's death taught her that this requires melting the frozen ice floes that block us from nurturing what we truly love. Rather than trying to be secure by merely keeping ourselves alive, the relevant focus of our life, love and passion, needs to become taking the necessary risks so that the thing in us that loves and the things it loves stays alive and are passed on. So I'm going to share with you Donna's poem that the book that she wrote was based on. I will not die an unlived life. I will not live in fear of falling or catching fire. I choose to inhabit my days, to allow my loving to open me, to make me less afraid, more accessible, to loosen my heart until it becomes a wing, a torch, a promise. I choose to risk my significance to live so that that which came to me as seed goes to the next as blossom, and that which came to me as blossom goes on as fruit. Mark Nepo wrote in his latest book, The Fifth Season, "It is often great love and great suffering that drops us into the middle of deep knowing. And we are called to keep returning to that depth." Y'all know what I'm talking about? Over and over and over again. And we often need the honest company of others to go there. This leads to a lesson that comes to us, regardless of our age, that when the need to feel and express what is true is greater than our fear of being known, we will take the risk to be fully here without hesitation. We have to meet the hard-earned truths of life as old friends that we never tire of seeing, who, being so welcomed, will help us live. I'm going to share that again. We have to meet the hard-earned truths of life as old friends that we never tire of seeing, who, being so welcomed, will help us live. May we all learn to love well. May we all find something to love that is larger and more powerful than anything that we fear. Our journey of sacred love continues as we connect with others through compassion. So I'm going to tell you a story that Donna shares in her book, I Will Not Die, An Unlived Life, about when her husband Andrew and her, were invited to meet the Dalai Lama. So Savitri, their friend and experienced guide, warned them on the landing strip when they entered India not to give any money to the people in the streets that would be begging, especially the children, but to give to local charities instead. You might be asking yourself, well, why? Why would she tell them that? It's so that they don't support the begging and encourage the continuation of an abusive system that goes on there, where they sometimes maim the children so that the children can get more money in their begging. So for 2 days, they traveled by car to Daramansala. And in those 2 days, Donna kept pulling back into herself each time she saw someone begging on the streets in the cities or the villages. There were 1,000 opportunities to shut down, and she used every outstretched hand, every pleading eye to clamp down on herself. It was a very long and arduous car ride. She readily remembered selfishness and practiced it mercilessly. Easy for me to say. They arrived in front of a Tibetan guest house, and as she climbed the 2 dark flights to her room, she noticed that all of the muscles, wow, that's a neat sound. Did you hear that? Oh, neat. Okay. I was like, oh, pay attention. So she noticed that all of the muscles and tendons in her body were torqued and rigid. She's been drawn back. She's been pulling into herself. She pulled herself in so far that she had isolated herself from the experience of a country and people that she traveled halfway across the world to experience. Not exactly the kind of compassionate person that she wanted to bring to the Dalai Lama. So upon rising the next morning, she made a promise to herself that although she would not give any money to the begging children, she would give them the gift of her attention. She pulled on a sweater, and as she opened the door, she noticed a beautiful envelope had been slid under the door, and it informed her that the Dalai Lama was ill and would not be able to see them, but that a Rinpoche, which had been one of his teachers, would meet with them later that afternoon. Well, gosh, her heart plummeted. The cold stone floor was covered with 1,000 shreds of every fantasy and desire that she had been carrying in her mind for months. Who cared about a ratty old Rinpoche anyway? It was the Dalai Lama or nobody. Her back felt carved and curved with the weight of failed hope. She trudged out of the guest house in a shroud of the landscape all around her closed in, and the colors faded, the clouds pressed down. Each foot weighed 10 pounds. She felt the desolate and disconnected emptiness of inertia. Donna wrote, "I barely noticed a small girl approaching me, her hands outstretched and her palms up. She was painfully thin, maybe 6 or 7 years old. Her hair and her skin and her eyes were all the same dusty brown as the burlap wrap that she wore. Her legs and arms were like spindles, and as she came closer, Donna noticed the missing 3 hands from her left hand and the missing 2 from her fingers, the missing 3 fingers from her left hand and the missing 2 fingers from her right. My morning's commitment rose in my mind like a red sun through dark clouds. Without another thought, I found myself scooping her up into my arms. Her eyes flashed as she threw back her head and giggled. And if they could have spoken, they would have said, 'Will you let me love you?' In one of those moments when everything I had been taught, all of my beliefs and manners, attitudes and values fell away. I had no idea what to do, what to say. All I could feel was a rising and opening in the center of my chest, as if my sternum was cracking. What emerged was as much of a surprise to me as it was a mystery to her. My mouth had a mind of its own, and the mind of my heart which the giggle of this little ragamuffin had broken wide open, a song I had learned many years ago from an Alaskan woman, Libby, spelled out. How could anyone ever tell you you are anything less than beautiful? How could anyone ever tell you you are less than whole? How could anyone fail to notice that your loving is a miracle? How deeply you're connected to my soul. As I sang, my eyes began to leak tears down my cheeks. I'm sure she couldn't understand the words, but in that one moment, we knew each other completely. With the two dirty fingers of her left hand, she reached over and pinched a tear from my cheek and then brought it to her lips to kiss. For a second, the world seemed to pause and to sigh. And then it was over. She giggled and wiggled herself out of my arms, not even stopping to turn as she ran off. I walked slowly on, aware for a moment of my very full heart. It felt as if it had a new chamber. Love is the capacity to touch and to be touched, to reach out and to let in. The story of the little child can break our hearts so wide open that it can contain the whole world. From her, we can learn that life is a river. I am passing her on by telling you the story of that moment in which two souls connected. For that is what life does. It creates the desire to reach, to pass on, to share with the whole world what life does. It creates the desire to, through an opening, allowing the world to pass into you. So I ask, what is the life force of what you love? What is the life force of what you love? In the moments when I feel most helpless to do or fix or to help, I can still always love in simple and ultimate ways. I can let in, let be, or be with. Opening and experiencing what life brings to me. Psychologist Rollo May described life as a flow and said that without its banks, there could be no river. Without loss, constraints, suffering, pressing against your dreams, giving shape and direction to your destiny, you could never reach the sea. Crisis can force us deep enough to find out who we really are and what we truly love. And it is here where there are no masks, no one else's values or beliefs, that passion lives. Loss can remind us as human beings we struggle with doubt and darkness in an imperfect world where suffering and grace both abound. It can teach us that our love really matters, that who we are and what we can do at our most essential level is enough. Nepo goes on to write, we are taught that to survive is to extend the actual duration of time that we are here. However, the closer our contact with death, the more precious our moments of living. And so how we survive is not measured by the numbers of years, but by the depth and breadth of how deeply and fully we are touched by all of life in any given moment. The quality of our survival is reflected in the full embrace of whatever life we have. What is loved reveals its loveliness. So our journey of sacred love culminates when we realize this love must move beyond ourselves and others into a greater purpose. Charles Fillmore wrote, "Let the God within you express itself through you in the world without." So I'm going to tell you a little bit about a story in which a little girl let God within her express itself through her in the world without. Tess was 8 years old when she heard her mom and dad talking about her little brother, Andrew. All she knew was that he was very, very sick and they were completely out of money. They were moving to an apartment complex the next month because they didn't have the money for both the doctor bills and the house payment. Only a very costly surgery could save her brother now, and it was looking like there was no one to loan them the money. She heard her dad say to her mom, "Only a miracle can save him now." So Tess went to her bedroom and pulled a glass jelly jar from its hiding place in the closet. She poured all the change out on the floor and counted it carefully. She counted it 3 times. The total had to be exactly perfect. No chance here for mistakes. Carefully placing the coins back in the jar and twisting on the cap, she slipped out the back door and made her way 6 blocks to the Rexall's drugstore. Tess went up to the counter and waited patiently for the pharmacist to give her some attention. But he was intently talking to another man and was too intently talking to him to be bothered by an 8-year-old at this moment. She twisted her feet to make a scuffling sound. Nothing. She cleared her throat with the most disgusting sound she could muster. No good. Finally, she took a quarter from the jar and banged it on the glass counter. That did it. "And what do you want?" the pharmacist asked in an annoyed tone of voice. "I'm talking to my brother from Chicago, whom I haven't seen in ages," he said without waiting for a reply to his question. "Well, I want to talk to you about my brother," Tess answered in the same annoyed tone. "He's really, really sick, and I want to buy a miracle." "I beg your pardon?" asked the pharmacist. "His name is Andrew, and he has something bad growing in his head, and my daddy says only a miracle can save him now. So how much does a miracle cost?" "We don't sell miracles here, little girl. I'm sorry, but I can't help you," the pharmacist said, softening a little. "Listen, I have the money to pay for it. It isn't enough. If it isn't enough, I can get the rest. Just tell me, how much does it cost?" The pharmacist's brother stooped down and asked the little girl, "What kind of a miracle does your brother need?" "I don't know," Tess replied. "I just know that he's really sick, and Mommy says he needs an operation, but my daddy can't pay for it, and I want to use my money." "Well, how much do you have?" asked the pharmacist's brother. $1.11, Tess answered, barely audible. "And that's all. I get more if I need to." "Well, what a coincidence," smiled the man. $1.11. That is the exact price of a miracle for little brothers. Then he said, "Take me to where you live. I want to see your brother and meet your parents. Let's see if I have the kind of miracle that you need." You see, the pharmacist's brother was Dr. Carlton Armstrong, a surgeon from Chicago who specialized in neurosurgery. The operation was completed without charge, and it wasn't long until Andrew was home again and doing well. Later, Mom and Dad were talking about the chain of events that had led them to this. Her mom said, "That surgery was a real miracle. I wonder how much it would have cost." Tess smiled. She knew exactly how much it cost. $1.11. What we love ennobles us. Kurt Wright said that the purpose of life is to learn to love and to discover just how much of God's love each of us can allow to flow through with no interference on our part. What we live from this place, when we live from this place of sacred love, we aren't just experiencing life. We are being lifted by it. We're carried on a current of grace and purpose, and we are not just loving, we're soaring. So our call to action, folks, this morning, is that we are invited to actively practice love, seeking out the places and spaces and relationships where we can intentionally embody loving kindness, compassion, joy, and equanimity, to live from a place of sacred love. So I know that today is kind of the start of a bit of a holiday week, and some of us might be interacting with a lot more folks than usual, and we might be interacting with a lot more folks that we don't get to see very often, and we might be interacting with some long-lost family and relatives. So that is this invitation to all of us. As we come to the close of this journey together this morning, I invite you to take a deep breath, the kind that reaches all the way down to the place in you that has never once stopped loving. Sacred love is not something we seek, it is something that we remember. It is the whisper beneath our fear, the tenderness beneath our defense, the truth beneath all stories we tell about ourselves and others. It is the presence that we have been carrying all along. When we untie the wings of self-acceptance, we discover that nothing in us was ever unworthy of flight. When we meet another with compassion, we discover that the heart is not fragile, it is spacious. It has room for every tear, every hope, and every child with outstretched arms. And when we allow love to move through us into something larger, into service, into courage, into miracles, we discover that we ourselves are the conduits through which the holy arrives. Just as Ricky Byers sings, "Oh, let me love in a holy, holy way." Sacred love is not a destination. It is the way that we walk through the world. It is the way that we speak. It is the way that we listen. It's the way that we show up. Even when it's hard. Even when we're afraid. Even when life asks of us, then it is the decision, moment after moment, to let the heart stay open enough for grace to find its way. How many of you know about the notes from the universe? You guys know about the notes from the universe that you can sign up and get every single morning? Well, I'll have to tell you all about that sometime. But every morning in my inbox, I get a note from the universe, and this is one of my favorites. Do you realize that there is yet one more step on the ladder that is even better than having a loving universe conspire on your behalf? I can. Do you realize there is yet one more step on the ladder that is even better than having a loving universe conspire on your behalf? Right, being that universe. And you are. You are its expression. You are its hands. You are its heart. You are its voice. You are the miracle moving through the world. Beloveds, go forth and be the sacred love that lifts all life. Go forth and soar. Thank you. And so it is.